rejoin in case if it is um, okay. Manas is removed. I don't know why. I'll ask her to rejoin. Please hold on a second. I'll message her. Okay. Please just hold on a second. Hold on a second. I don't know why. I don't know why no, I started recording, but Manasa's entry was deleted from the meeting. Manasa was removed from the meeting. Okay? So she can join now. I think I messaged her. Just hold on a second. Manasa will join again. Uh, okay. So here we go. Okay. Just okay. Let me share the screen. Okay. Here we go. Yeah. Mm, okay. Yes. Here we go. Okay. So let's continue the discussion, please. Yes, can somebody, message Manasa to rejoin, because I put it in the group. Please, I think, oh yeah, she has replied, no problem. I think it's because of, okay, no problem. She's joining, no issues. Manasa is joining. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so two types of input guys, one possibility is the DC input, and the other possibility is the AC. So when we have AC, we have different possibilities. What are the possibilities? We have low frequency. AC means is nothing but alternating signal. It has a frequency. Two possibility, low frequency or just a second. This problem with the mouse. Just a second. Okay. So there is two possibilities. Somebody is on the line. Just a second. Okay. Okay, so there are two possibility. One is the what is known as low frequency, and the other is the high frequency. So there are two possibilities, no, of AC signal. Okay, so considering some fixed amplitude, of course, amplitude also matters. Amplitude, RMS, well, all this matters. So right now we are concentrating on frequency, mainly on frequency. Okay, so what are the possibilities? See, for DC input, what happens? Okay, so this, since in a DC signal frequency is zero, you take any amplifier, not just the op amp. Even if you take BJT amplifier, or even if you take some other equity amplifier, all these devices will work without any problem for a DC signal. Why? Because the frequency will be zero. If the frequency is zero, what happens is that input is not changing. Input is constant. The characteristics of these devices will not be altered. Okay, so they need not respond quickly. Say, for example, if it is AC, that we'll discuss next. If it is AC, it is changing faster. So the output should change faster. But if it is DC, input will not change. If input will not change, output need not change. Output is fixed. Okay, so if you take any device for that matter, okay, any semiconductor devices, as which are used as an amplifier, or which are used as a switching devices like op amp, BJT, or APT, okay, so they work without any problem for a DC input. That's not an issue. But the problem comes when the input is AC. Okay, so two possibility: low frequency. Low frequency means high time period is higher. High frequency means time period is lower. Okay, so let us try to plot both the possible frequencies. Time period higher means something like this. Time period is higher. Okay, so that is the low frequency signal. Okay, so it is a low frequency signal because time period is larger. So I've taken some example. I'm drawing some random signal with a larger time period. So now let us consider the high frequency signal. That means lower time period. Time period will be lower. Okay, I'll try to plot because okay, something like this. Okay, time period is lower means high frequency signal, something like this. Okay, so here if you compare this time period with this time period, okay, so let us call this as T2 for example. This is T2. Let us call this as T1 for example. T1. Okay, so T1 is larger than T2. Okay, and then if you consider in terms of frequency, f1 for T1 is smaller than f2. Very simple. This, because we are all familiar with this. Okay, so what is the problem here is, please observe this waveform now. So what is our interest is, observe this waveform. Okay, if you consider the low frequency signal, that is high time period. Okay, the rate of change of this signal is very low. The rate of change, if you take this time period, if you take these characteristics, okay, the rate of change of the signal is very low. It's slowly changing. Whereas if you consider the high frequency signal, what happens is that the rate, somebody's on the line, just a second. Okay, yeah, here we go. So if you consider high frequency signal, let's compare this, this portion of the waveform, it is changing so fast. It's changing so fast. Whereas you compare with this one, compare these two regions of waveform, okay, which are marked in green color. Here the rate of change is very small in the low frequency signal, okay. Whereas in high frequency signal, what we can see is rate of change is very high. That is very fast. Okay, rate of change is very fast. Signal is changing at a very faster rate. Okay, what is the problem with this? Okay, the problem here is that here is this DC thing, because DC is not an issue. Okay, DC, all devices are happy with the DC input. The problem comes when it is a AC. Okay, so when this kind of signal is applied, okay, that is AC signal with low frequency and high frequency cases. Somebody is on the well. Okay, so now when low frequency signal is applied, okay, what happens? Let us see. Okay. So here the rate of change is very low, but it cannot be DC. Of course, definitely it's not a DC, it's a AC, no problem. But still, since rate of change of signal is very low, output rate of change of signal is also lower. Okay, output rate of change of signal is also lower. Just let me write this waveform again. Okay, output rate of change of signal is also will be very low. Will be very low, no problem. Okay, but now what happens is that when we apply large frequency signal, very high frequency signal, okay, when this signal is applied, input is changing at a faster rate. Okay, output should also change at that particular rate. Output should also change at a very faster rate. May not be possible. Not all devices can change. The change in the sense, output of all the devices cannot change at the rate at which input signal is changing. If the input signal is changing at a very faster rate, that means the input signal frequency is very high. Okay, this effect or this characteristics of the rate of change of the output signal for every rate of change of the input signal is called as a slew rate. This is called as a slew rate. This is called as a slew rate. Okay, so last class actually I was halfway through this discussion. So let us continue the discussion here. Okay, slew rate. Okay, so slew rate is defined as the maximum rate of change of output voltage per unit time. Okay, that is the rate of change of the output voltage per given time, unit time, represented as slew rate is equal to dV0. That is change in the output voltage per unit time. Represented as volt per microseconds. Okay, so that means how much voltage output can change, how much output voltage can change for every microseconds. Okay, so that is determined as a slew rate. So slew rate indicates how rapidly the output of an op-amp can change in response to changes in the input frequency. So input frequency is changing at a very faster rate. Okay, input is changing at a very faster rate. Can the output also change at that rate? That is important. Okay, so slew rate changes with the change in the voltage. Gain is normally specified at unity gain. Okay, so that is slew rate changes with change in the voltage. Yeah, okay, this last class I think if you remember, we discussed what is a unity gain. Let me I'll discuss again because almost after 3 4 days I'm engaging in class. So let me discuss this again. Unity gain. Unity gain. Okay, what is unity gain? Okay, guys, what is unity gain? Guys, very simple. There is voltage failure. What is voltage failure? So gain is equal to 1. Gain is equal to 1. Unity gain. Okay, so thereby now what happens is that say unity gain, of course, in voltage failure what happens is that we provide feedback and we achieve unity gain. Okay, that is closed loop gain. It is a closed loop gain. Okay, but in normal open loop configuration, this is the frequency, this is the low frequency, and this is the high frequency. Okay, and this is the gain of a operational amplifier. We know that open loop gain is very large. It can go up to 200,000. Very large gain. Okay, fine. Now what happens is that when the input frequency is increased, okay, the gain starts reducing. Okay, at some frequency, somebody's on the line. Just a second. Okay, here we go. Okay, so at some frequency, the gain reduces to 1. See, guys, observe. It changes from 200,000 to 1 gain. Okay, of course this is a closed loop gain. Of course, sorry, it's open loop gain, of course. So the gain reduces to 1. This is called as unity gain bandwidth. I think last class we discussed. This is, let us say, upper cutoff frequency. So this difference in frequency is called as a unity gain bandwidth. Okay. So this what do you call, sorry. So this change in the slew rate changes with the change in voltage is normally specified. It's specified at unity gain. Okay, slew rate matters at unity. How it matters, we'll see. Okay, so slew rate of an op amp is fixed. So for a given op amp, let us say for example 741, the slew rate is fixed. That means somebody is on the line. Okay. So slew rate, for example, this factor is fixed for a given op amp. We cannot improve this. We have to operate op amp within this range. In fact, to be more clear, to be more specific, we have to select an op amp based on its slew rate, because some op amp will operate for lower frequencies. Some op amp will operate for a higher frequency. Okay, so based on that we have to select a particular operation amplifier. Guys, we'll see that. We'll see one example for that also. Okay, somebody's on here we go. Okay, so the slew rate is always fixed for a given op amp. So if the slope requirements of the output signals are greater than the slew rate, then distortion will occur. Okay, so what happens if the input frequency is very high? So let us say, for example, let me write again. Okay, so let us say this is the operational amplifier. Okay, so we'll discuss only for op amp. Of course, the same concept applies to the other devices also. Let us say input signal. Okay, let us say, for example, this op amp, I'll take one example. Let us say 741 for example. Okay, this operates without any distortion for a maximum frequency of, let us say, for example, 800 kilohertz. For example, I don't know why my mouse, guys, it has a problem. It is not able to write properly. Okay, so the what is this? This suddenly changes. I think I selected something else. Huh? Okay, I think this is better. Okay, I selected. Okay, somebody's on the line. Just a second. Okay, yeah. Okay, so the frequency, let us say, it can operate without any distortion for a frequency of 800. What is distortion? We'll say now. Okay, let's say up to 800 kilohertz, a given op amp, for example 741, operates. Okay, for example, input frequency is 800 kilohertz. Okay, this is the input voltage Vi. Okay, this is 800 kilohertz. Output voltage also can follow the input changes. Okay, if the input changes, output also changes. For example, let us say voltage follower circuit. Output frequency is also, let us say, for example, 800 kilohertz. For example, okay. Now let us say input voltage changes in terms of frequency, not in terms of amplitude, not in terms of input frequency increases. Okay, let us say, for example, it goes to 1 megahertz. For example. Now, when the input frequency increases, Output cannot change. See, our input is changing at a very faster rate. Output cannot change at that faster rate. Okay, so output will be distorted. Output will become distorted. Okay, so we have to select an op amp in such a way that by considering its slew rate, which indicates the maximum frequency with which it operates without any distortion. Without any distortion. So based on that concept, we have to select a particular operation for a particular application. Now the question is, okay, now let us say I got a op amp, let us say for example 7414, one more op amp, which operates up to 1 megahertz, for example, 1 megahertz. Which one to select? Let us say 741, which operates only for 1800 kilohertz, 714, which operates up to 1 megahertz. Let's say by default, can we select, we use 741 op amp for all the applications? May not be necessary, because each op amp has its own advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so for example, 741 is a internally compensated op amp. What is that? We'll see later. Okay, so 741 has its own advantage compared to 714. So based on all these factors, we have to select a particular op amp. So at this point, important factor is for a slew rate, we have to select an op amp which can operate for a larger frequency range. That's all. Okay, so yeah, let me erase all this. Okay, so thereby the op amp slew rate is very important for the selection of a op amp. Okay, somebody's online, just a second. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so the slew rate is one of the important factors in selecting the op amp for a AC applications, particularly at a relative high frequency. See, for a DC, it's not a problem, guys. As I explained, if the input is a DC, we need not worry. See, all op amps are happy. Op amp, BJT, FET, all are happy for a DC input. Okay, the problem comes only when the AC input. So, especially at higher frequency, it's a problem. Say for example, it is a 741. If you operate for frequency less than 800 kilohertz, no problem. It works fine, perfectly fine. If frequency is greater than 800 kilohertz, it will have a distortion. Output will distort. Okay, here we go. So that is the meaning of the slew rate. So we have one example here. Yes, let us look into this example. 741 op amp slew rate is 0.5 volt per microsecond. What is the meaning of 0.5 volt per microsecond? Okay, that means, so output voltage changes maximum of 0.5 volts per microsecond for a unit time of microsecond. It's measured in microseconds, which is a standard time. Seconds is a standard, so microsecond is a version of the subdivision of seconds. Okay, which okay. So what does this indicate? Which limits its use in relatively high frequency applications. Okay, 741 cannot be used for, as I said, very high frequency application. It has its own limitations, especially in oscillators, comparators, and filters. But it is used for some other internally compensated applications. Okay. Yeah. So other examples: LF351, MUA-F771, or MC34001. Okay. So they have direct replacement. They have better replacement for 741 op amp, and they have slew rate of 13 volt per microsecond. Please observe the difference. Here we have a major difference. Okay, 741 op amp slew rate is 0.5 volt per second, and these op amps slew rate is 13 volts per microsecond. That means 741 op amp can change only maximum of 0.5 volts per microsecond, whereas these op amps can change up to 13 volts per second. Up to 13 volts per second. Obviously, that means these op amps can change at a faster rate than compared to 741. So for higher frequency applications, we have to go for a these kind of operational amplifier. So okay, in high speed op amps, especially the slew rate is significantly improved. Okay, so for those applications, we have to go for these kind of op amps. Okay, so for instance, the LM318 has a slew rate of, observe this case, 70 volt per microsecond. So this is definitely preferred for a very high frequency applications. This is that okay. Slew rate is very important for a AC applications. So electrical parameters, let us not look into that. Gain, bandwidth, product. Okay. So gain, what is additional parameters? That's not important. Okay. So let us look into this. Gain, bandwidth, product. The gain bandwidth product is the bandwidth of the op amp when the voltage gain is 1. Okay. Yeah, something like this question. I think I had written earlier. Let me go back, whether I can I retrace the waveform. Let me check. Oh my, so I scribbled many times. So many times I need to. Okay. Instead of that, I could have written, I guess. Okay, let me see if I get the diagram back. So it would be better. So we'll discuss that gain bandwidth product again. Yes, yes. Here we go. Okay, okay, okay. Yes, please hold on a second. This is okay. Something like this. Oh yes. Okay, here we go. It's, I mean, yeah, this is better. Okay. So what is the gain bandwidth product says is it is the bandwidth of the op amp when the voltage gain is 1. So for a 741 op amp, it is not listed under electrical parameters from open loop voltage gain versus frequency graph. It's a plot of the gain bandwidth product is obtained from a plot. There is a plot means graph which is plotted open loop voltage gain versus the frequency. So it can be found up. This there is this will be part of the data sheet. So data sheet will consist of the this gain bandwidth product. There is this plot. There is a open loop gain versus the frequency plot. From that we can make out the gain bandwidth product. So for a 741, it's approximately 1 megahertz. So equivalent terms for the gain bandwidth product are, the other terms used for gain bandwidth product is closed loop bandwidth, or it's also called as a unity gain bandwidth. This is what I was talking about, unity gain bandwidth, which is also called as a gain bandwidth product. Okay, and small signal, it's also called as a small signal bandwidth. So for 7 LF351 op amp or MC3400 op amp, the gain bandwidth product is 4 megahertz. Please observe the difference now. For 741 op amp, gain bandwidth is only 1 megahertz. For a LF351, for example, it is 4 megahertz. What is the difference? Let us understand this. Let us understand from this diagram. Okay. So for a 741 op amp, for example, to start with, for a 741 op amp, this gain bandwidth. Okay. Is what is the meaning of a? Okay. I'll erase this side so that I can use this space for writing. Somebody is on the line. Okay, here we go. Okay, so what is the meaning of a gain bandwidth product? Okay, so as the name suggests, it is gain bandwidth product. Gain bandwidth product. Gain means voltage gain. Okay, bandwidth means this frequency difference, and its product. That means it is a product of the gain and the bandwidth. What is bandwidth? Is higher frequency. See, lower frequency is DC. We can take it as 0. If this is for a 741 megahertz, it is 741 op amp. It is 1 megahertz. There is upper frequency with which op amp can work without any distortion is approximately 1 megahertz. So what will be the bandwidth? 1 megahertz. Okay, that means it is what is gain is. That means at 1 megahertz frequency, the gain reduces to 1. Okay, that means gain is 1 into frequency. What is the bandwidth? Bandwidth is 1 megahertz. Okay, why 1 megahertz is difference of FU minus FL, low frequency. FU minus FL gives 1 megahertz. So this gain bandwidth product is 1 megahertz for a 741 op amp. 741 op amp. Okay, that means we can use op amp up to maximum of 1 megahertz. Whereas this one more op amp, there is LF351 op amp. Okay, LF351, LF351 for example. Okay, this op amp has a gain bandwidth product of 4 megahertz. That means this is something like that. Let me use another color, green color. Okay, it will be something like this. Okay, that means the 741 LF351 op amp gain reduces to 1. There is 1. Gain is 1 at a frequency of 4 megahertz. Okay, so if you plot gain bandwidth product for LF351, it will be 1. What is 1? Gain into bandwidth, that is 4 megahertz. So bandwidth will be equal to 4 megahertz. Okay, so now let us say we have two situations. One we use op-amp for a low frequency, then we can go for 741 whose gain bandwidth product is 1 megahertz. That means it can operate up to 1 megahertz without any distortion. We have a higher frequency application, then go for a LF351 where it can generate output voltage without any distortion up to the frequency of 4 megahertz. Up to the frequency of 4 megahertz. Okay, so this is the significance of what is known as gain bandwidth product. We need not plot, see, we need not plot this, we need not worry about that, manufacturer will provide the plot, this plot. Using this plot we can find out the what is known as a gain bandwidth product. So this point is very, very important. Okay, so this gives gain bandwidth product, gain bandwidth product that will determine the the frequency of operation of a op-amp. Okay, so average temperature coefficient and input offset voltage and current. Okay, so this temperature, the average temperature coefficient of input offset voltage is the average of the rate of change of the input offset voltage per unit change in temperature. Input offset voltage we discussed, guys. In the earlier class we have discussed in detail. Let us take one example. One sample case. It is measured in microvolts per degree centigrade. Okay, that is how much voltage changes per variation of the temperature. Variation of the temperature. We have 714 op-amp. This 714 op-amp has a average temperature coefficient of 0.5 microvolts per degree centigrade. Okay, that means for every change of degree, 1 degree centigrade, the voltage will change at a rate of 0.5 microvolts. So and input offset, just a second, average rate of the change in input offset current per unit change in temperature is, okay, sorry, this is the for input current, input offset current. So this is for the input offset voltage, and this for the input offset current is measured in amperes. There is picoamperes per microsecond. I'm sorry, degree centigrade. Sorry. Okay. So for a 714 op-amp, it is input offset current is 12 picoamperes per degree centigrade. Okay, what is the significance of this? That we have to understand. See, in most of the cases we operate op-amp at a room temperature. Okay, but if you operate the op-amp for longer duration, for example, okay, what happens is that its ambient temperature changes. Okay, and moreover, this last class we have discussed, that with op-amp is connected with additional resistors and capacitors. Okay, additional resistors and capacitor. Higher the value of these resistors, more will it be the temperature. What you call heat dissipation of the circuit. Higher the heat dissipation of the circuit, overall temperature of the circuit increases. Okay, in that situation, these factors comes into picture. So this will have a significant role. Otherwise, for a normal applications, these factors will not matter much. We need not bother much about these factors, but we can't ignore it also. Okay, so that will also matter. Okay, long-term input offset voltage and current stability. This is okay. Long-term input offset voltage. Okay, is the average rate of change in the input offset voltage. There is a input offset voltage change. Okay, there is delta VIO. There is a change in the input offset voltage per time. This is the average rate of change in the input offset voltage per unit time, and is generally expressed expressed as microvolt per week. Okay, so it is measured per week. Generally, we don't run any circuit for a week, but there are some circuits, like power converter circuits, where we may have to run the circuit for indefinite time. Then this factor comes into picture. Okay, it is also referred as input offset voltage drift with time. Okay, so let us look into some example. 741 op-amp as a input offset voltage drift of 0.1 volts microvolts per week. That is change in the input offset voltage per time. That see, the point is very simple, guys. If you run the circuit for too long, even the input offset voltage also changes. What is input offset voltage is, by the way, just to recall, that is the voltage which is required to reduce the output voltage to 0 when both the input voltages are 0. That is, when both the inverting and non-inverting voltages are 0, output voltage will not be equal to 0. You have to apply, and this output voltage is called as a output offset voltage. Output offset voltage. So we have to apply some small input voltage to reduce the output voltage to 0. That is called as a input offset voltage. This input voltage offset voltage will also changes if the op amp is operated for a long period of time, like it's measured with for over 1 week of time. It's too long a time. So laboratory setup we don't run. That's obvious. Okay. That's okay. Input, equivalent input noise voltage and current. That's not necessary, guys. That is for noise applications. We discussed that channel separation. So this factor is also called as amplifier time. Okay. Channel separation, is it necessary measure of amount of electrical coupling between the op amps that are integrated on the okay. This comes when integration comes into picture. So what is the integration is on the same board that is in the PCB board. Okay, on the same PCB board when we integrate multiple op amps. Okay, how far it matters. So for timing, we don't discuss integration of op amps. There is multiple interface of op amps. So let us not discuss about this channel separation. This is not significant. Okay, when we go for PCB fabrication, that will matter. Otherwise, it's okay. Supply voltage dependent parameters. Okay. So these are the parameters. For AC applications, consider, okay, so what are the, okay, quickly to summarize, to the characteristics. Okay, what are the parameters to be considered for AC applications, and what are the parameters for DC applications? Okay, for AC applications, input resistance, output resistance, large signal voltage gain. This is the open loop voltage gain. Open loop voltage gain. Output voltage swing. Okay, that is which is monitored by the, which is affected by the slew rate. Average input offset voltage and the current drift. This just now we discussed. Okay, so that is per week. So which is measured per week. Long term input offset voltage and stability. Gain bandwidth product. This also we discussed. Transient response. In the earlier class we have discussed this. Slew rate and equivalent input noise voltage and the current. Okay, so these are the factors which will affect the AC applications of the operation amplifier. So when we come to DC, input resistance, output resistance, there is impedances, large voltage gain. Okay, because the input voltage is small, then voltage gain will amplify the signal and it will become very large. So that is the input. No, there is, sorry, large signal voltage gain. Output voltage swing. What is why output voltage swing for a DC application is because when the op amp becomes unstable, that is when it goes to saturation, output starts swinging. Output voltage, see what is the output voltage swing means. See, for a there is for a DC applications, what we have understood is input voltage DC. For example, input voltage. See, if the input voltage DC, Vi, okay, what happens is that output voltage should also be DC. Correct, output voltage. But what happens is that the input voltage is very large, and since the op amp voltage gain is anyway larger, voltage gain, open loop voltage gain, it is minimum, I mean not minimum, sorry, 200,000. It can go up to 200,000. Okay, in this case, what happens is that output starts swinging. What is swinging? It will be a square pulse. Output becomes a square pulse. Not a sinusoidal, not possible. Okay, because input is DC. How can we obtain a sinusoidal output? Okay, output becomes a pulse. So what is the amplitude of this output voltage? For example, if you apply plus or minus 50 volts as the biasing voltage, then output voltage will be, can go up to maximum of plus or minus 14 volts. That is 1 volt. Let me drag this. Yeah, here it is. Okay, output voltage can go up to plus or minus 14 volts. Plus or minus 14 volts. Okay, that is 1 volt less than, approximately 1 volt less than the biasing voltage. Okay, so this is what is known as output voltage swing. Okay, so this also called as a oscillation conditions. So somehow we have to prevent this. We should not say for a DC input we are obtaining like a AC output. Okay, it should not happen. So this has to be prevented. This is what is called as a output voltage swing. This is what is known as output voltage swing. Input offset voltage, input offset current also matters. Average input offset voltage and current drifts, which is measured with respect to week per week. Long-term input offset voltage stability. Okay, let's observe. If you observe this, this gain bandwidth product will not matter here. Why? Because input is a DC application. There is no question of gain bandwidth product. Transient response also does not matter. Slew rate, there is no question of change in input voltage. See, input voltage will never change. It will be constant. So there is no question of a slew rate. Slew rate will never comes into picture. So noise also, when there is no AC, there is no question of a noise. So this noise concept also will not come into picture. Okay. So this is about the parameters which are to be considered for the AC and DC applications. Okay, so there is a temperature depending. Okay, fine, that's okay. Okay, so the ideal op amp we have discussed, guys. From the other David Abel book we have discussed. So just to quickly summarize, when we take ideal op amp, it has an infinite voltage loop gain. Okay, voltage gain, infinite input resistance. Okay, so there is Ri will be equal to infinite ohms ideally, and R0 should be equal to 0. Zero output impedance, R0 should be equal to 0 ohms. Okay, and zero output voltage in the input voltages are 0. That is, output offset voltage should be equal to 0. Okay, practically not possible. Okay, zero output voltage when the input voltage is 0. Infinite bandwidth, so that any frequency signal from 0 to infinite hertz can be amplified without any attenuation. Okay, that means in the earlier diagram we had written, there is what you call gain bandwidth product. So for that, plot we considered is frequency versus voltage gain. Okay. So now what happens is that generally we write something like this. For a practical op amp, ideal op amp will have the response like this. That is, the gain will never be reduces as the frequency increases. Okay. So that is the ideal op amp situation, but practically not possible. So practically we should not expect so ideal condition, not possible. Okay, so that's it. Okay, infinite common mode rejection ratio. So this we discussed common mode rejection ratio. It is a very high factor, high value. Okay, so that the output common mode noise voltage will be 0. Okay, this CMR or common mode rejection ratio is generally anyway high value. If it is infinity, then the output common mode noise voltage can be reduced to 0, but practically not possible. CMRR is measured in terms of decibel because of its very high value. Infinite slew rate, so that the output voltage changes occur simultaneously with the input voltage changes. Okay, so as the name suggests, as the slew rate suggests, what is slew rate, guys? Even if the input voltage changes rapidly, output voltage should also change rapidly. Okay, so the SR should be infinite, so that very large at least, so that output voltage can change immediately as soon as the input voltage changes, but practically not possible. Okay, we have seen, for example, for a 741 op amp, it was 0.5 volts per microsecond. Okay, for every microsecond, output voltage will change by 0.5 volts. Okay, it is not infinity, not possible. Okay, so that's about the ideal op amp. Equivalent circuit of an op amp. Okay, so for equivalent circuit of an op amp, guys, we consider like this. That is the what do you call, inverting input terminal, non-inverting input terminal. So there exists a input resistance, equivalent input resistance. So between this differential input voltage is generated. Output side, there's a output resistance, and the output acts as a constant current source. You can see the current source here represented as A into VID. Okay, so current source. So it is expected to provide a constant current, which is controlled using output resistance R0. Ideally, if R0 is 0, zero ohms, then maximum current will flow to the output terminal. Ideally. Okay. Similarly, at the input terminals, guys, if Ra is infinite, okay, if Ra is infinite ohms, infinite ohms. So what should happen is it will draw very small current, ideally zero current from the source. Okay. but it is not so. Input resistance will be in terms of mega ohms or at least kilo ohms, hundreds of kilo ohms. This is the equivalent circuit of a. Of course, we didn't add this kind of circuit in David Egan, so that's why I thought we'll discuss this circuit. So for for completion purpose, Um, so output voltage can be represented as A into VID. That is voltage gain into input voltage, differential input voltage particularly, which is nothing but A into V1 minus V2, where V1 is the non-inverting voltage and V2 is the inverting voltage. Okay, so that's why we obtain the output voltage in the equivalent you know um, practical situation. Ideal voltage, this we discussed, let us not go into this. Ideal voltage transfer curve. Okay, so ideally, okay, so a positive saturation. Okay, so in the input voltage increases, the output. Sorry, let me take another color. Yeah, output reaches saturation. Okay, so ideally it should have been like this. Ideally it should have been like this, but practically not possible. Practically there is a slight slope. Okay, there is slight variation in the output voltage for every variation in the input voltage. See, this is a differential input voltage. So as the input, see, input differential voltage, when it goes from negative to positive, from negative to positive, output should suddenly switch from negative output voltage to positive voltage. That is the idea. So there is, guys, it's something like this. This is the op amp. If the input differential voltage is negative, sorry, let me. Okay, if the differential voltage VID, if it is negative, output voltage should be negative. Output voltage, output voltage is negative. Okay, sorry, let me write like this: negative. If the input voltage is positive, what should be the output voltage? It should be positive. This change in output voltage, when the input differential voltage changes from negative to positive or positive to negative, should be random. I mean, sorry, not random. It's quicker. It should be instant. It should be instant. Okay, it should suddenly change from negative saturation to positive saturation. But practically, it doesn't happen. Okay, it gradually changes. Okay, that's what it is. So ideal curve is compared against the practical curve in this diagram. Okay, so you can observe that saturation voltage is always less than the VCC. Okay, by what value? If VCC is plus 15 volt, then positive saturation will be plus 14 volts. Plus 14 volts. Similarly, negative saturation will be minus 15 volts. Sorry, not saturation. Negative biasing voltage is minus 14 volts. Then negative saturation will be approximately minus 14 volts. Minus 14 volts. Okay, this plus 15 plus or minus 15 volts depends on the application, so we can take appropriate value of biasing voltage. Okay, ideal voltage transfer curve, I think figure 2.8 is the okay. Here only the author has explained the ideal voltage transfer curve. That's what we discussed just now. We have discussed earlier also. Open loop op amp configurations. Okay, so open loop condition is, what is open loop gain? Open loop condition indicates there is no feedback. As it is, there is no feedback. We are applying input voltage to either non-inverting input terminal or the inverting input terminal, and we obtain the output voltage. So there is no question of feedback. Okay, so in the absence of feedback, we call it as a open loop operation amplifier. So this differential amplifier indicate when two voltages are applied. There is a V in one and V in two. V in one is applied to non-inverting input terminal, and V in two is applied to inverting input terminal. Then the output voltage is the difference of the input voltage. The difference of the input voltage. That's why it's called as a differential amplifier. In the open loop condition, if you provide feedback, there is no question of differential amplifier. Why? Because part of the output will be fed to the input, so there is no question of differential amplifier. Okay, so differential amplifier indicates the output is the difference of the two input voltages multiplied by the gain of the operational amplifier. It's a very large quantity, of course. Gain is a very larger quantity. So based on that, we have three possibilities: differential amplifier, inverting amplifier, non-inverting amplifier. We had discussed inverting amplifier, non-inverting amplifier, and what is known as a voltage follower circuit. Voltage follower. This we had discussed with respect to David Egan book. That's Concept is same ways, it doesn't change. The way it is represented in this textbook, it may matter, it may differ. Otherwise, no, concept is same. So for a differential amplifier, the author has discussed a differential amplifier first. So let us quickly look into this. So differential amplifier output is the difference of the two input voltages. Very simple. Okay. So how to control the output voltage then? By modifying the gain of a operational amplifier. Okay, so this there are two resistance connected at the input. Okay, that is called as source resistances. R1 and R2 are normally negligible. So source resistance will be in terms of ohms. For example, 50 ohms, something like that. Okay, it will be very small. Okay, so it is very small compared to input resistance. So therefore, the voltage drop across this resistance can be assumed to be zero, because the resistance is zero. Voltage drop across this resistance will also be equal to very less. Not, if not zero, it is very less. It can be neglected because Ri is in terms of the Ri, that is input resistance, is in terms of mega ohms. This Ri, it is in terms of mega ohms, at least in mega ohms. So these are in terms of ohms. For example, 50 ohms. So compared to this input resistances can be ignored. No problem. You can safely ignore. No problem. Okay. So differential amplifier. Okay. So inverting amplifier, yes. This inverting amplifier, we had discussed this. There is output. The voltage is applied to inverting input. In the inverting amplifier configuration. Non-inverting input terminal is grounded. So we measure the output voltage. So output voltage is the negative version, the inverted version of the input voltage multiplied by the what we call open loop gain. Okay, that's why it's called as a inverting amplifier. Very simple. Okay, this is also we had discussed. Okay, similarly we have non-inverting amplifier. Same situation. The input voltage is applied to non-inverting input terminal. Inverting input terminal is grounded. So output voltage is nothing but the input voltage applied to a non-inverting input terminal multiplied by the open loop gain of the operational amplifier. Okay. Okay. So that's how it is. This is the non-inverting amplifier. So according to the situation, we'll select a particular configuration, either a inverting amplifier or a non-inverting amplifier. Okay, there's one important point we have to understand here. Okay, that what this line says is that I'll take one example with you. Let us discuss with respect to non-inverting amplifier quickly. Okay, in these three amplifiers, what the author has specified here. There is in the differential amplifier, either in the differential amplifier or in the inverting amplifier or in the non-inverting amplifier. What happens is that if the input voltage is, even if it is very small, let us take inverting amplifier for example. Okay, what is the output voltage is? Output, okay, let me go to this. Okay, here it is. I can see both the equation as well as the diagram. Okay, yeah, this is better. This is better. Okay, based up to this, output voltage is nothing but input voltage multiplied by the open loop gain of a operation amplifier. Even if the input voltage is in terms of microvolts, that is Vin. Vin in terms of microvolts. For example, let's take one example. It is a 0.1 microvolts, for example, microvolts. This is multiplied by the open loop gain of an amplifier. Open loop gain of an operation amplifier is, it can go up to 200,000. 200,000. Okay. Output becomes a very larger quantity. Output starts oscillating. What is output swing? We just now we understood. Output starts oscillating. It becomes unstable. Okay. So thereby, these three circuits cannot be used as it is. That means we cannot directly go for a differential amplifier, inverting or non-inverting amplifier, because the gain is very large. The output will always be saturating. Output will always becomes swinging. Output will always be saturating. Okay. So thereby, we have to go for what is known as a feedback, negative feedback, to control the gain of a operational amplifier. So that is the meaning of this line. So if you go through this document, in all the three open loop configuration, any input signal, there is either a differential input or the single input, means either non-inverting input or the inverting input. Okay. that is slightly greater than 0. Slightly greater than 0 means, even if it is 0.1 microvolts, not volts, 0.1 microvolts also can drive the output to saturation level. Can drive the output to saturation level. Okay, because of the very huge gain of a operational amplifier. Okay, so this results from the very high gain of a operational amplifier. Thus, when operated in open loop, the output of the op-amp is neither negative saturation or positive saturation, or switches between the positive and the negative saturation level. Okay, it continuously switches between positive and negative saturation. This is like a square wave generation. See, if you want this kind of waveform, we use either inverting amplifier or a non-inverting amplifier in open loop condition, no problem. Okay, so we get a what is known as square waveform. Okay, so for this reason, open loop op-amp configurations are not used in linear application. What is linear application means? Okay, as the name says in our course also, LICA means linear integrated circuit. Okay, integrated circuits and op-amps. So in this case, linear means when the input changes, output should also change. Output should be linear to input changes. If op-amp gain is not controlled using the feedback, output changes rapidly. Changes in the sense output starts saturating. Output starts saturating. No matter what is the input signal, even if the input signal is slightly greater than 0. Okay, even if it is slightly greater than 0, output starts saturating. Okay, so for linear applications where output changes should be linear to changes in the input voltage, then we have to go for what is known as feedback. We have to go for what is known as a negative feedback. That too, not even positive feedback, that will not help. We have to go for what is known as a negative feedback. Why negative feedback is, if you consider output voltage, it is the difference of non-inverting voltage and the inverting voltage. If you provide output to inverting input, this factor is very larger. As this factor, that is negative input, is larger. Okay, then output voltage decreases. That's how we can control the output voltage of a operational amplifier. So thereby we can employ op-amp in a linear applications. Of course, op-amp is also used for non-linear applications, no doubt. Op-amp is also used for a non-linear applications like waveform generation, but still, at least for linear applications, we have to have a control over the output voltage. Yes, okay. That's about three basic configurations. Of course, in the David Bell book, what we discussed was with respect to feedback. In this case, without feedback, application is given. Of course, with feedback is also there, that we'll see. Let's, for example, quickly we'll see. We'll take one simple example is given, guys. Okay, let us say input voltage is 5 microvolts. So V in 1 is 5. Okay, so I'll take only 1 minute. Input voltage V in 1 5 microvolts, V into minus 7 microvolts. Okay, what is output voltage? 5 microvolts minus of minus 7 microvolts. Okay, but this is still in microvolts. 12 microvolts. This is 12 microvolts. 12 microvolts multiplied by 200,000, it becomes 2.4 volts. Output voltage becomes 2.4 volts. Output starts saturating. Output starts saturating. Okay, that's all. I think there's one more example. 1 more minute. Sorry. Yeah. In this example, guys, observe this. Second sample. Guys, last 1 minute. Sorry. Okay. V in 1 is 10 millivolts. V in 2 is 20 millivolts. Okay. Let us see. In the first case, V in 2, which is applied to inverting input terminal, was negative. Okay. Now it is positive. Inverting input terminal voltage is positive. How does the output voltage changes? Okay. So 10 millivolts applied to non-inverting input terminal, 20 millivolt is applied to inverting input terminal. Okay, this is minus 20, minus 20, minus 20 millivolts into 200,000, it becomes 2000 volts, minus 2000 volts. It is very large. Output starts saturating. Output starts. It will not be 2000 volts, but it will be it will be saturating voltage. That's what it is. Guys, thank you guys. Thanks for joining. Okay, I'll see you in the next class. It's already late. Nandan sir will engage the second hour. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for joining. See you. Take care. Stay home. Stay safe. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Take care. Bye. Good day. Good day. First, I need to stop recording.